Adam Livingston and his family led a quiet life on a large farm in York County, Pennsylvania. He had a beautiful wife, 3 sons, and 4 daughters. Livingston wanted nothing more, but then strange things began happening on his farm. A mysterious fire claimed his barn, and then an epidemic leveled his stock of horses and cattle. Decimated by bad fortune, Livingston determined that a change of location was the only way. So in the early 1790s, he moved to Virginia, bought 70 acres of land, and settled in Smithfield near what is present-day Middleway, West Virginia. The family's new neighbors embraced the family warmly, and Livingston acquired a reputation as a hard-working farmer who was bright and honest. Some muttered darkly, however, after Livingston's devotion to Lutheranism, one so full and complete that Livingston came to be known also as a bigot who disdained all other religions. But for the most part, the family lived in a quiet, innocuous life. That is, until the day the stranger came. In 1794, a stranger, described in a 1904 West Virginia historical magazine quarterly as of middle age and of respectable appearance, stopped at the Livingston homestead and asked for accommodations. His wagon had lost a wheel and he needed a warm place to spend the night, but it soon became apparent that the man had wanted more than just a warm bed. He was seeking a place to die. As the night passed, the man's condition only worsened. Realizing that death was near, the stranger asked Livingston to seek out a Catholic priest to give him his last rites. Livingston refused. He knew no Catholic priest, and even if he had, he would never allow one in his home. The dying man repeated his request, but Livingston remained adamant. No Catholic priest was going to enter his Lutheran home. The stranger had no choice but to die. Livingston never bothered to learn the identity of the visitor. A quick search of the man's papers revealed no name. Having suffered the indignity of dying without his last rites, the stranger would now be buried in a potter's field with nothing to mark his passing. But from the moment the stranger died, strange things began happening in the home. Occurrences Livingston could only attribute to the spirit of the dead. Livingston asked a friend, Jacob Foster, to watch over the corpse for the evening before its burial the following day. Foster accepted the task, but fled the house when candles kept extinguishing themselves in the room. Livingston resolved to bury the body at earliest light to eliminate what he judged to be the source of Foster's fear. After the burial, however, Livingston's problems only multiplied. The family was tormented nightly by sounds of galloping horses and knocks on the door. Only no one ever saw the horses or the person at the door. The sounds came from nowhere. As the weeks passed, the events progressed from petty annoyances to serious problems. Livingston's animals began dying. Pottery in the house would throw itself to the floor as if hurled by unseen hands. Chunks of burning logs would leap from the fireplace, threatening to ignite the Livingston home. And most disturbing of all, sounds of scissors, snipping and clipping filled the house. Shortly after, members of the Livingston family were stunned and shocked to find blankets, sheets, boots, and clothing cut to shreds. The sound of clipping never ceased. It continued every minute of every hour of every day. News soon spread throughout the county of the eerie events taking place on the Livingston homestead. Some believed that the reports were nothing more than elaborate hoaxes. Others set out for Smithfield to test their assumptions. A woman came wearing a new silk cap that she took off before she entered the home. She wrapped it in a silk handkerchief and put the package in her pocket, determined to foil the phantom shears. Yet after she'd left the home and inspected the hat, she was flabbergasted to find the cap in shreds. The situation grew desperate. Livingston's health was beginning to fail, and the stress threatened to overwhelm his sanity. He called upon 3 professional conjurers to cast spells on his home and rid it of its presence, but their incantations proved futile. Livingston was devastated, and he gave up hope of ever finding a solution. Then one night he had a vision. He saw a man in robes and heard a voice that told him, "This is the man who can relieve you." When he awoke, he was determined to find the robed man. With the help of friends in Shepherdsville, Livingston managed to track down the man from his dreams. When Livingston first saw him, he was overcome by his visions rendered real. The man who appeared to Livingston in a dream was now standing in his home. The man was Father Cahill, a Catholic priest. Livingston was so desperate that he admitted the man to his home, allowing now what he had determined was impossible for a dying man. Initially, Father Cahill's doubted Livingston's claim, but a visit to the homestead in Smithfield convinced the priest that there was indeed something unnatural taking place. Cahill uttered some prayers and then sprinkled the home with holy water. After he left, the Livingstons waited anxiously for night to come to see if they would at long last pass one evening undisturbed. That evening, the Livingstons slowly slept soundly for the first time in months. And so it was for the next couple of evenings, until one day when the weird noises and dreadful clipping began anew. Cahill returned. This time he celebrated Mass and consecrated the dead stranger's burial plot. With that, the disturbances stopped for good. Livingston soon converted to Catholicism, and for years thereafter he heard a voice that prayed with the family, advised them, and offered predictions for the future. In 1802, Livingston deeded a portion of his property to the Catholic Church after the voice told him, "Before the end of time, this will be a great place of prayer and fasting and praise." Today, the plot of land supports the Priestfield Pastoral Center, a place for prayer, fasting, and praise. Although the Livingstons lived out the rest of their days in relative peace, the same cannot be said for the spirit. Not nearly as restless as he once was, he can occasionally be seen disappearing into the Catholic chapel on the old Livingston property on autumn nights. Tourists visit the sites have sometimes found their purse and camera straps mysteriously cut. Old habits, it seems, die hard.